Today we're going to talk about mouse settings and switching from keyboard to mouse for some of you controller people for a casual gamer. This is not geared towards people that have 80 hours a week to put into a game, but since everybody's home right now because of the COVID-19 thing, this is a good place to start. Keep this as your base point and then move on from there. There's a couple things that I want to point out before we get started. I am using a 32-inch monitor from Asus that does play an effect, but we will talk about that in a little bit. First, we're going to talk about mouse selection and why it's important. So first, we're going to talk about mice and why you don't need a $250 mouse. All you really need are the two side buttons over here and something that feels comfortable. I recommend buying a couple on Amazon if you can. If you can go out to Best Buy when this all clears up and you can physically hold the mouse, because how the mouse feels is equally as important. I can tell you that I have held some of the most expensive mice in the world, and they are designed by the people who design Lamborghini. They are uncomfortable, there's a lot of edges, sometimes they just look cool, but they're not necessarily awesome. So here is a SteelSeries Rival 3. It's a $28. This is a great mouse that I've been using literally up until today. My left clicker just finally broke after buying it 4 years ago. So the next talking point when we talk about mice is enhanced pointer. This is very important, so we're going to go ahead and get this out of the way now. To fix your enhanced pointer, go to your search menu, type in mouse, go to mouse settings, click on additional mouse options, go to pointer options, and here you'll see enhanced pointer precision. This is important. You want to make sure that that is checked off, because if you have it checked on, what it does is it basically turns your mouse into a bit of a curve. So if you move slow, your mouse will move slow, but if you move fast, it'll accelerate your mouse, and you'll never build muscle memory having this setting on. Thank you, Vis, for showing that to me a year ago. Now we're going to talk about mouse DPI and why it's typically a load of shit. So here you have, this mouse has 16,400 DPI high precision laser programming. Okay, that's crap. You don't need 16,000 DPI. That is just a sales gimmick. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go over to the Logitech G Hub. Unfortunately, I have to install this just for the video. And let's talk about real life sensitivities. You don't need to be anywhere higher than 550. You can use a 600 DPI if you have a very large or very wide monitor, but typically the bigger the monitor, the lower the sensitivity you're going to want to be, because obviously if you move your mouse a quarter inch to the right at 400 DPI, it looks fine on this little monitor, but on a big TV it's going to be jarring. So bigger screen, lower sensitivity, but I highly recommend running a 400 DPI. This is the current standard for every professional FPS player between PUBG, Call of Duty. 400 DPI is where you want to be, and then you tweak your in-game settings to make it comfortable while you're in the game. Now, mousepad. It sounds like something stupid to talk about, but it's actually very, very important. You don't have to spend a bunch of money again, $9.99. I have this exact same mousepad. You just need a high friction, comfortable mousepad. This one's a medium, it's a 12 by 10 inch, that's perfect. I don't have a lot of desk space on my current setup, so I'm actually running a Razer 12 by 10, but it's the same system. And the reason why you want a high friction is you don't want a glossy surface, because it's hard to really feel your mouse. You want the mouse pad to have a rubbery texture with high resistance so that it's effort to move the mouse. You don't want it slipping around because you'll overcorrect, you'll overcompensate, you'll miss your targets. You want it to be precise. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is keyboards. I am currently running two keyboards at one time. I have a full keyboard that I use for pretty much everything. It's an iBuyPower. I also have a SteelSeries and a Logitech keyboard. That keyboard doesn't really matter. I specifically bought a mechanical half keyboard when I switched from controller to mouse and keyboard. And the reason for that is depending on the keyboard, if you don't have mechanical, there is a limit to how many keys that can be pressed at the same time. But let's move on to the actual in-game stuff, the meat and potatoes, if you will. The in-game sensitivity is going to be at 15. Now I know this is going to be jarringly low for most people that are playing the game, and there is a reason for that. You have a large range of motion on your mouse. So you want to make sure that when you are dialed in on someone's head at a far distance, that large mouse movements make small corrections. If you are too high in your sensitivity range, a little half-inch movement down is going to take you from his head to his foot at 300 meters. So lower sensitivity means higher accuracy, easier to land headshots. You'll stay on your target. You can track better. The side-to-side movement and the baseball sliding of characters in this game compared to Apex Legends and other BRs is a lot slower. Your targets typically stay where you can see them in the range of your scope the entire time. Drop this down to 15, and I'll show you for PC players on how to fix the feel of your character running slower in just a second. So mouse sensitivity we're going to keep at 15. The rest of this you can look at. Aim down sight speed is relative. Inverted mouse, don't need that. Definitely don't want mouse acceleration. That's what we just disabled with the enhanced pointer. Mouse filtering, you don't want that on either. And mouse smoothing, you definitely don't want that on. That's why you got yourself a nice mouse. That's why you got yourself a nice mouse pad. Don't let Call of Duty tell you how to live your life. Now I'm going to go through a couple key bindings in this specific part because I want you to have them. Again, this is geared towards people that are used to controllers that are switching to mouse and keyboard. Some of these settings won't be for you. This is just my suggestion on how I can keep my fingers from getting tied, which is the common complaint from controller people moving to mouse and keyboard. So slide behavior, tap that. Crouch, a lot of this is going to be exactly the same. I kind of want to just get down here into the key bindings where I switch things. So movement's really hasn't changed at all. I don't believe I had touched this literally at all. So here we're going to come down. This is all exactly the same. None of this has changed. Fire weapon's the same. Aim down sight is the same. Now next weapon, this gets into the finger tie thing. I changed my next weapon to scroll wheel up. Now every time you scroll wheel up is going to be your next weapon. So if you're running an overkill class, you scroll wheel up, you're switching to your SMG. You scroll wheel up again, you're switching to your next gun. Get used to it. It'll be your best friend, especially with a perk that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Weapon mount, I didn't actually change this. I don't know why the secondary is there. It's push down your scroll wheel. It will stick you to a surface. Melee is E. I believe that's still standard. Use lethal, I changed to mouse wheel down. There's two reasons for that. One big one is C4. With this, you can scroll wheel down at an enemy if you know that they're coming at you with a truck and just keep scrolling down. And that will detonate that at its earliest possible second to get you out of sticky situations. There is a downside to this, and I will talk about that. You can't cook grenades. That's huge. I understand that. Especially a regular frag grenade, you're gonna want to cook your grenades. This is specifically geared towards Warzone. I don't use frags. I use thermites. I use Simtex. I use mines. I use claymores. I use C4. Quick drop, quick throw, quick detonate. You're out of there. That's all you need. Use tactical equipment. This one's huge. Mouse button 5. Which is on the side of your button. I don't know if there's a better viewing of this, but either way, it's this button right here. It's my first button. There we go, right there. So this button right here is button number 5. That is your non-lethal. That's what you use for your heartbeat sensor. You will be glued to your heartbeat sensor. You will use it all the time. It's your best friend. So we're going to move down from that to nothing else on this screen. Kill streaks and vehicles. Alright, let's go down to use armor plate. Well, first, let's go up here first. Armor plate behavior, apply all. Click the button once, fills up your inventory, everything from your inventory to available armor slots, and you're done. Use armor plates, I changed that to mouse button number 4, which is down here. That way, and this is very important, again, you're not finger tied. If you're holding WASD on your keyboard and you're moving, you can just hit that back button and apply armor while you're running, or while you're climbing a ladder, or while you're waiting to loot a box. In fact, there are some situations where you can be applying armor and do other functions, such as, like I said, you can apply armor while climbing ladders, you can apply armor while baseball sliding, you can apply armor while opening doors and looting boxes. It does limit you on picking up things while you're applying armor, but who cares? You just did like 6 things at the same time while applying armor, making you a harder target to kill, because you can take fire, you can baseball slide into cover while applying armor, get back into the fight. They don't have armor because they're pushing you, aim at their face, get them off the planet, get them in the gulag. So that, I believe, is my last change. I'm just going to scroll down here quick. Yep, that's everything. The rest of this I haven't really touched at all. Ping is still G. None of this has changed at all. Now, there's a couple things in general that we need to talk about. This one in particular is going to greatly depend on your graphics card, and I apologize for that, but this is the balance to that sensitivity. With a sensitivity of 15, the lower your field of view, the slower you are going to feel. I believe consoles are stuck at 60 for an FOV as a setting, and I hate it. I don't know how you guys do it. I can't stand it. It literally feels like you're dry humping your gun. You can't see anything on the sides, and it makes you feel like you're running in mud. My suggestion is to run a FOV of 96. It's not going to burn up your GPU. As long as you have like a 1080 or higher graphics card, you should be fine at 96. In fact, I would make sure that you are at least running a 96. And then adjust your graphic settings to keep you at your 60 frames per second or your 144 frames per second, depending on your monitor. But I highly suggest running a 96. Now, the caveat to that is if you have a much wider, if you have an extreme wide angle monitor, you're going to be around 80 or 86. You're going to drop that down by right around 10. Don't drop below 80. Do yourself a favor. If you want to get crazy, do 120 if you can, but it's really fish-eyed. It makes sniping really difficult. 96 is that good happy medium. This is all very dependent on your current monitor, so we're going to skip over that completely. But there is one that I want to hit that'll help you out significantly on both console and PC, is colorblind. I don't know how to pronounce this word, so we're just going to call it the D. So the colorblind that starts with a D, and then make sure that it's on both, it doesn't change the colors per se, but it greatly increases the contrast. Players stick out a lot better, the houses aren't so muted, you can see objects move in and between them a lot easier. This will be a godsend. It's very minimal on your eyes. It actually makes it a little easier to see. Your friends are like a bright, bright blue, and enemies are a bright, bright red, and so on and so forth. This has been touched on a million different videos by now, but if you're not running a square map with map rotated enabled, then here's your chance. Get it done. Graphics, again, I don't really want to go over this because this is all very dependent on your graphics card. Just make sure that you can at least run 60 frames per second. If you're not running 60 frames per second, you're doing yourself a poor justice. Now, I will say that there is a very large bug in the game for most people that are playing on PC, is this getting switched to full screen borderless and your resolution turning down to 66. That basically means that you're running at 720p. Make sure that this is running at least 100% to get that 1080p quality, and that you're running windowed if it's possible, depending on your monitor. I know some of you have stretch wide monitors, and that's not a possibility. All right, we're done with that. Now I want to go back, and I don't want to talk about guns too much, but I do want to talk about 3 of the ones that'll help you be more successful. It's important to say that there's nothing wrong with running the meta. There are a lot of you, and there's a lot of people that I know that they hear the MP7 is the meta, so I'm not going to use it. For whatever reason, if you're a casual gamer and there are people that are just lasering you with the meta, you're a dumbass for not using it. I'm sorry, but you are. If the MP7, which it is the meta for SMGs, and you decide to run an Uzi, and you two get into an engagement, there is a possibility that you're still gonna win if the guy is not paying attention or whatever. But let's say it's worst case scenario, the door opens, you guys are both looking at each other, he's got an MP7, you've got an Uzi, you will be dead. And what did you prove? Nothing. You hurt your team, they're gonna have to buy your ass back like Krillin, and everybody's pissed off. Just use the metas. Stay on top of it. There's tons of videos on them. I'm not going to go through all this. This is a low recoil Grau. This is a low recoil, high accuracy MP7 and a quick scoping AX50. Now, the one thing I will talk about is the perks. These are the perks that you should definitely be running if you're a casual gamer to make sure that you are not hurting yourself or your team. Cold-blooded, every kit. Don't argue with it, put it on. Stay off thermals, otherwise if you get spotted, your whole team's effectively spotted. Have cold-blooded on every one of your kits. Ghost, there's controversy. Do you run Overkill or do you run Ghost? I say you run Ghost. Why? There are tons of blue and legendary blueprints now in just regular boxes. You can find a decked out M4, a blue P90, the LMGs, sniper rifles. You don't need it. You can, if when the free loadout drops at the end of Circle 1, then grab your second kit and then you have 2 of your guns. But just run Ghost. Amped is huge. Alright everybody, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button. Stay tuned, I plan on making some more of these probably once a week, and I'll catch you next time.